All right, Billy, it says that we are live. I am looking on the page. There you are. All right, Billy, it looks like you are live.
Hey, did we do it?
We did it.
Oh my goodness.
Don't you love Facebook? All right, we're going to be sharing
Facebook
this link
was
with.
Facebook was seriously calling the shots whether we were going to be able to do this class or not.
I think so. Well, I'm going to make sure I share the link with everybody in the event, and let's get some people on here. All right, Billy, go ahead and go.
Okay, so check it out. I am on Facebook on Safari and it says going live in 0, but I don't see myself. If people see me talking, then I hope you find this entertaining.
You are there, Billy. I see you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, well, I see you on Facebook. I see you on YouTube. Wow. Okay. Social media made it a struggle today, huh?
We did it. Well, thank you all for hanging in there while we figured out this tech issue. As you may know, we had a total meltdown with our technical situation last week when we tried to do this class. So this is a real test. And how actually special that we are using this delay to our advantage because it is the fall equinox. Hooray! So that's a very celebrated day of the year. All right, so we are going to just jump right in here. I just want to say welcome to the Better Brain and Body class. I'm Billy Merritt, your host. And bottom line, I'm just here to inspire, educate, and help you, live the healthy lifestyle for energy, longevity, a healthy mind, and immune system, of course. So I'm really happy to be doing this live class with you. And classes like this really have been a favorite of mine. And I think you're going to be really glad that you tuned in. You're really going to gain something very valuable this evening. Which, by the way, you know that I am doing a reward of a Vitamix blender and also several bottles of Infinity Greens and Infinity C, which we're going to go over at the end of this, how you're going to win. And just so you know, my goal is to get 500 views of this class over the next week. And so that's what this raffle and contest is all about. So plain and simple, this is really important stuff. And my hope is to just expand the influence of what I have to share. And nutshell version is you sharing and liking and tagging friends is, it really is the engine to make it happen. So now today we are jumping into essentially what is part 5 about the health of your brain, since of course there is right now just an urgency with that. An urgency for strengthening the immune system, specifically for preserving the health of your brain, which is what we've been talking about, and vice versa because of how the brain takes care of the immune system, right? So the past couple months I've shared in my live classes how there are just a number of adjustments you can make to your lifestyle with your diet, your exercise routine, your sleep, and more that can really make a world of difference to mitigate the risks of contracting any invasive disease, really. So my goal has been to share with you just the highest impact info and to really break it down, to make this as easy and user-friendly as possible, right? Which, by the way, if you're not part of these classes, I am going to send you the link for the Infinity blogs, or you can just go to infinitygreens.com and click blogs up in the menu bar. But I'll also send you the link, and you're going to be able to find all these videos recorded of these previous classes. Now, I want to share with you that these classes were actually prompted by articles recently published by Johns Hopkins, Harvard Medical School, and the Mayo Clinic. And they have identified the risk for long-term brain damage caused by COVID, believe it or not. And You may already be aware that many people who are contracting COVID experience symptoms of temporary damage to the neurological system, like temporarily losing sense of smell or loss of taste are just examples that we often hear about. However, thankfully, in most cases, people get their sense of taste back within a couple weeks. But the potential long-term damages are now confirmed and are now just starting to get out to the public, but not fast enough. That COVID is showing to cause brain damage that's actually more significant just than what you would get from the common flu. And that these long-term damages are often reflected by an ongoing brain fog that can last literally for months. Feeling tired and low energy, anxiety, even poor memory. These are commonly associated with this problem, okay? Now, the discovery of what's behind this problem was by doctors from Johns Hopkins University and Harvard Medical School. And they found what it is that cells called megakaryocytes are being found in the brain capillaries of individuals with COVID infection. So megakaryocytes are making platelets. This is part of the body's clotting system, but these clotting cells should not be there in the brain. So the issue this is essentially creating is it's reduced blood flow in the brain, and lower blood flow equals just less oxygen, which then leads to brain damage. Now, I just want to say here that, this is not to be afraid. It's good to know what's going on so that we can figure out how to best take care of it, right? Which is what today is all about. So, obviously, this includes strengthening the immune system and making the brain more resilient to potential damages. And you're going to learn how all of this works hand in hand, the brain and the immune system working hand in hand, creating like a synergy. So the big picture is your immune system is actually orchestrated by the brain. That the immune system is not like this thing in the body. It's an intelligence woven into the body that all starts here, right? So it's actually important to understand that the brain is a vascular organ, and it's with 500 or actually 400 miles of vessels in the brain. So that's why preserving the health of your brain is largely about preserving the solid circulation, right? So we're making the goal here to optimize blood flow for oxygen and nutrient-rich delivery throughout the brain. Again, it's the reduced circulation in the brain that's the essence of the problem, okay, with COVID. So for the past couple months, we have focused together partly on how the anti-inflammatory diet for the purpose of blood flow is critical. And, for the purpose of optimizing blood flow, the reality check is the modern diet, often causes more harm than good. We talked about the drawbacks of sugar. We talked about the right and wrong fats. We talked about the pluses and minuses of animal protein and alternative sources of protein. We talked about the elites, the elite foods, the foods high in antioxidants, the foods high in phytonutrients, specific fruits like berries, and the right foods for digestive health. Digestive health being part of the foundation of neurological health. We talked about that. We talked about high chlorophyll foods. The obvious ones we know of are kale, arugula, chard, spinach, blue-green algae, basil, mustard greens. And I did share the cheat sheet in the back of my book, Infinity Health Manual, which foods are which. I also talked about how my recipes are about using the nutrient-rich stuff and just making it really easy, palatable. We did talk about the right superfoods and supplements like turmeric and blue-green algae for circulation, for example. We talked about how zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D every day, specifically for the immune system, is huge. We essentially packed some of the key information from chapters 1 through 8 in my book, Infinity Health Manual, to just into a couple classes. Now, like I've always emphasized, if there was ever a silver bullet to your health, it would be nutrient-rich blood, right? And it's circulation of this silver bullet, that's what preserves the health of your brain and everything in your body, but especially the brain, right? And it starts with your diet. And then it works in tandem with exercise, which we also talked about. The diet is creating the silver bullet, nutrient-rich blood, and then exercise is like pumping the handle, which circulates the nutrient and oxygen-rich blood to organs and every part of the body, essentially just making everything stronger and more resilient to aging. Now, it is the increased oxygen and nutrient-rich blood flowing, getting your heart rate up from the exercise, so that the body's restorative healing life force can circulate through the brain to work its magic. And we actually talked about how the right exercise creates a growth hormone which specifically favors the brain, called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. This is a growth hormone. It's actually a precursor. This hormone is a precursor of neurogenesis, the production of more brain cells. Ultimately, exercise grows the brain. Now, another good thing, of course, about exercise, it improves sleep, which is what we talked about in part 4. We did a whole class devoted to sleep. Because when it comes to sleep, statistics show that insomnia is a problem for nearly half of our population. Okay, that's huge. That sleep is essential to brain health. It's when the brain is rejuvenating itself. It's the discovery of the glymphatic system in the brain. The glymphatic system, that's a new discovery. That during your sleep, the glymphatic system gets the metabolic junk out. That it's like we talked about, getting the good in, but also getting metabolic waste out. And this is, again, part of why the anti-inflammatory diet is huge. It's working hand in hand with that glymphatic system while you sleep, right? So we also talked about how this intracellular inflammation from your diet essentially reduces the performance of the glymphatic system, which then affects the life cycle of cells in the brain. So we did talk about the potential support from supplements like melatonin. We talked about foods that also enhance natural melatonin in the body, that actually can stimulate the body to produce more melatonin. That's huge. And we also talked about the melatonin depleting foods. Again, these videos are on my blog page. We also talked about adaptogenic herbs, that on the other hand, these are simply plant foods that have a calming effect on the body's nervous system. And then we also looped back in and we talked about how exercise burns stress hormones, which can interfere with sleep otherwise, right? That fatiguing your body with regular exercise, no question, helps you sleep better. So you can see just how all of these different factors in your lifestyle between diet, sleep, and exercise all link together to create this synergy, right? Now, we also did a class dedicated specifically to stress and how stress can actually affect the physiology of the brain. And we're just talking the day-to-day pressures with work deadlines and just the overstimulation from cell phones, social media, especially negative social media, and just the not so positive news. And then, of course, there's just the more acute stressors of just getting upset about something. It's part of life. Or somebody hurts your feelings, or something that just made you mad. Thankfully, this never happens to me. Just kidding. So, all parts of life but mitigating stress is just part of what we're going to talk about. Okay, we're going to talk about mitigating stress in just a bit, and how to basically minimize the effect the stresses of life can actually have on the brain by making the brain more resilient to all of these damages we've been talking about. Now, what we covered is how, in response to stress, the body naturally produces cortisol, a stress hormone, which is a stimulant, right? So the problem is the day-to-day chronic stressors, it's slowly producing like a chronic cortisol. And that produces an oxidative chemical stress in the body. And that is an inflammatory. And we know what that means. We talked also about how cortisol does steal substrates, otherwise used for serotonin and oxytocin, precursors for mood management. And it also takes substrates from the body that would otherwise be used to manufacture white blood cells. Okay, that's the primary tools of the immune system. So it's not breaking news that stress affects the immune system, right? But we did talk about the goal here, to cut back on the exposure to the day-to-day stressors, to be replaced with the things in life that bring us joy, like hobbies and friendships and exercise. Now, I wanted to say that just thankfully, between diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, overall brain health, circulation, creation of new brain cells, the neurogenesis, this can be improved at any time, made possible by all of these factors in your lifestyle, again, working together. Now, as for the creation of new brain cells, this is neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is a breakthrough discovery, thought to be impossible until about the year 2000. And we now know that the body can actually grow brain cells at a rapid rate until the end of life, no matter your age. So here's where I want to shift gears with stress, that it's simple day-to-day thinking. It is proven again and again to create physiological change in the structure of your brain via neurogenesis, the production of new brain cells. Especially important right now, right? Since anytime you contract a virus, it is killing off healthy brain cells. So absolutely, we need to be just pumping the handle on neurogenesis, right? So this is where we are going now, is that the extraordinary potential of creating new brain cells, optimizing this neurogenesis, this creation of new brain cells with your thinking, okay? And we're going to explore just what your thought alone can do when it comes to optimizing this process, when it comes to optimizing the health of your brain and the immune system duo. Okay, so what you're going to learn here is just what the power of thought can do for the immune system, essentially, and the health of your brain. I'm going to share with you just what you're going to gain from this exactly, and of course, just how to optimize it. So we're looking at the incredible process here that your thinking can actually shift blood flow, metabolic activity, growth of new brain cells in the brain that can change millions and billions of brain connections to build new neural pathways in the brain, That process with your thought is called neuroplasticity. You've probably heard that before, and we're going to dive into that. Neuroplasticity is under the umbrella of neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells with enhancing your lifestyle, like we talked about. And the mind is using the resources of the new brain cells to deliberately create new microvascular networks within your brain. Okay? So This is probably not going to mess up your hair, and I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about that, but it's probably not. By the way, we're going to break this up into 2 sessions. I do have a lot to cover here, and we did get a little bit of a late start. But thanks for hanging in here, okay? So we're going to blast through some really great material, though. We're going to cover a lot in the next 25 minutes. Now, look at new brain cells, the neurogenesis, from your lifestyle as the building materials for your mind. Your mind to then deliberately control self-directed thinking to go to work rearranging the living room up here with the neuroplasticity. The neurogenesis, it's directing it, you are directing with your desire wherein neurons and neural networks and pathways literally change their connections and behavior in response to new repetitive thought. Okay. Now it's just brilliant that this process of intentional thought can be used at will to write an improved mental concept about ourselves. One of the fundamental parts of living a lower stress life for all of the great reasons that we've discussed, right? So the big picture is the brain is making the resources for the mind, while the mind makes the brain's resources stronger, then to support the creation of a stronger mind. It's this ongoing cycle of improvement. And what's also interesting is this change also takes place on a larger scale in the brain. That the chain reaction with reducing stress on a larger scale is then there is less activity in the amygdala. Okay, the amygdala is the stress center of the brain. Otherwise, the amygdala with stress actually becomes bigger, and it's taking the blood flow from the hippocampus. The memory center becomes smaller because of the amygdala basically just taking that blood flow because it's working so hard. That's the opposite of what we want, right? If we weren't employing all that we're talking about today. So, basically, if we're just letting our life run its course with everyday stressors, the amygdala is like, we need some damage control over here. Lots of red blood cells, we're working hard. Oh man, we've got a problem. And it's taking, again, all of those resources that otherwise your hippocampus would be using, which is all about memory. So looking at this from a physiological perspective, we're making the hippocampus high priority, which we are really putting to use via the practices we're going to talk about today to make it stronger with what we're working on. And you are also increasing the activity in the brain's left prefrontal cortex. Okay, just big picture. So we're intentionally putting these areas of the brain into action with good purpose to make them overall more active and responsive, and the amygdala, the stress center, less active, less responsive, except for when you really need it, right? So, which then leads to less cortisol production. And remember, the less cortisol equals less inflammation in the body due to less oxidation, okay? Now, like we talked about, again, just to really get it, less inflammation then equals better circulation, then everything in the body works better, especially the brain. This is, again, exactly how the immune system is affected, okay? So like we've talked about, this gives the body the resources it needs to ramp up the production of white blood cells for the immune system. It's interesting that this is kind of putting into new life just the adage of mind over matter, isn't it? So the question, of course, is just how far can this go with making the body more resilient to disease with our thought? Again, especially when synergized with the health transforming lifestyle. And so we're bridging two words here, or excuse me, we're bridging two worlds that are thought to be really far apart. The health of the mind affecting the health of the brain, affecting the health and strength of the immune system, and repeat, right? So the steps to get there, we are going to call the self-directed neuroplasticity, putting together a well-defined, intentional mental sequence that we're going to practice daily, using your mind at will as a directive force. You've got to look at this like a physical exercise, that you don't just do one workout and all of a sudden you're stronger, but rather it's like a daily workout routine that gets you stronger over time. And so I'm going to break this down and devise a daily routine. And I think goals are a great way to get started here. That having an identified goal of what you intend to achieve will allow you to be more determined and disciplined to get started. And so obviously we just have some great rewards to work for here, right? So as far as just the goals we're talking about of the neuroplasticity, of just the goal of becoming a better thinker, a more positive, sharper mind, clear, emotionally more resilient, there's a great short-term goal. Then the reward, the long-term reward, being a stronger immune system and brain. Okay, that's the long-term achievement. Now, for these goals that you want to work for, define a list of personal qualities and traits, feelings that you wish to experience more. Okay, we're talking more joy, more peace, courage, confidence, resilience, self-esteem, better stress management, whatever you want. I want to pause and just say that you can't do this, that it's not going to work. That what I want to just emphasize is you don't have, your physical health doesn't have to be great in order to get this started. Okay, you can absolutely get this process to get into action, even if your health on the physical level is not thriving. But now we can see how, with everything we've covered, that it's all powerfully interconnected, that your growth mentally and emotionally, which then cycles back to your physical health, can be much faster, and the retention of the growth much stronger with a healthy lifestyle. That with the not so great health, the blood flow just isn't where it could be, and the production of new brain cells is not exactly thriving like it could. Just basically just making the brain slower to respond with the neuroplasticity. It's less moldable, less shapeable on that neural pathway level. So we're just, again, looking at it as the physical, mental, emotional synergy that is happening, behind your eyes. Now, I have people tell me, I'll be honest, that, oh man, Billy, I feel like I missed the boat. Look at me, I'm not so healthy. But hang on, the universe sends more boats. And the good news is, when it comes to neurological health, it can improve rapidly. Just the good stuff you eat or don't eat today can have a huge impact even tomorrow. Okay. So we don't want to think that we have to achieve superior physiological health before we get started, right? So today, today is the day to get this show on the road. Now, as far as the steps to get there, the self-directed neuroplasticity, making a better brain via having that well-defined intentional mental sequence that we're going to practice daily, using your mind, again, as a directive force. And as for that, for me, it's a 10-minute practice every day. It's part of my daily routine. And I will note that the mind is more suggestible. The brain is more impressionable early in the morning and right before you go to bed too. And so, for that reason, the last thing you want is to go to bed in a bad mood, right? That if you've had a long day, it's really useful and powerful for just your mental and emotional strengthening for that part of your body to get stronger, to take a few minutes before you go to bed and reflect on something positive, like what are 3 good things that happened today? So for the morning routine, this is something that I give a lot of focus. So during this time, the setting, I sit up tall, smile, I take a deep breath. The simple law of nature here is you're engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, plain and simple. That this is a direct way to always feel better and making yourself more fit to optimize these practices that we're getting into. And also just take a minute, to reflect on the fact that you being here on Earth is a mind-blowing phenomena in the first place, and that you have much more in your life going well than not, even though it may not always feel that way. So next, positive affirmations. They are so powerful, and I can't emphasize the value enough that this is about training your subconscious how you want to routinely think of yourself. And like we've talked about, how it will then reflect through that chain reaction through every other aspect of your health, right? A friend actually did mention to me earlier, this sounds kind of like the placebo effect. And it is kind of similar in a way, but rather than taking a sugar pill, you're taking in a self-directed thought for actually a very specific purpose. And so when you deliberately tell yourself something, your subconscious is like, huh? Okay. So for training your subconscious for a stronger self-perspective, positive affirmations are tried and true. Examples being saying, I am healthy, I am motivated, I am courageous, I am talented, I am an achiever. Now, I want to point out here that you're not affirming that this is what I want to become. Like, for example, I'm going to become strong. I'm going to become motivated. These are great goals. But then you're telling yourself that you're not that right now. And we want to stream in our thought that this is who you are already. So I am resilient. I'm on a brilliant life path. I am joyous. And boom, every time you say these things, your brain is working away, processing, filing, building new neural pathways. Neuroplasticity is well underway. This is not child's play. This topic may feel a little goofy, and I want you to try it. Do it in private. Now you know I do, okay? So I have my affirmations that I say out loud every morning, sitting or standing tall, outside, and I'm going to share some with you. Why the heck not? This is something I'm kind of shy about, I'll be honest. It's a very private thing. So here are some examples. Okay. I forgive myself when I make mistakes. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for who I am already and who I am yet to become. My body is fit and strong. I exercise every day. My self-talk is strong, and it's always getting even stronger. I'm free of limiting beliefs and am adopting ever better perspectives of my life. I maintain the long-term visions and sense of life purpose to bring love, success, and joy to the world. The fact is, I am awesome, negating any self-doubt, bringing in confidence from the inexhaustible supply in me, always to new levels. Today, wonderful things are happening. I am a light shining in all directions, and I see the light in everyone else too. That's you. So, there you have it. Now, I just want to emphasize the setting. Like I said, that can make a big difference in a private and quiet place. I'm quite partial to nature. I want to suggest trying this after doing a little exercise. This is why in the morning, first, I do a quick yoga routine. I just do like 10 sun salutations. It takes 5 minutes. And I'll be honest, I also dance too. Dance, you may know, is a big passion for me. Star Tribe, that I do big dance events, something I'm very passionate about, and I absolutely believe in the powers of dance. So as for other kinds of exercise that everybody loves to do, hiking in the great outdoors. Speaking, of course, of exercise and hiking in the great outdoors, you may know about the Taos Adventure Retreat. You may know that this is the adventure retreat that I'm doing next week is all about this, but entering for the full immersion, which puts all of this into turbo, right? So this is all a way that also makes you better able to catch the negative thoughts that sneak in through the back door, to replace them with the positive. We don't want to be affirming those subtle thoughts that, I'm just not always great at managing stress. I'm getting things wrong. I'm having these tough breaks. These are the old neural pathways that we want to deactivate, the ruts that we want to fill in, right? Remember that there is the potential to go in the opposite direction here. That old thought patterns have literally created physiological ruts in your brain that when we allow to run their normal course, such as just the stress-oriented thought, worry, and anger, it's having that reverse effect that we want on the body, right? So we're exercising our thought to prevent this. Now, reality check. Do I or can we always feel positive and grateful? Probably not. It's something I've come to learn. And so I look at this as a practice, a discipline to count the things that I have that I can be grateful for, even though at the time I don't necessarily feel it. And so I want to comment that adding the word gratitude or grateful to the affirmation actually can make them just more influential. Like, I'm grateful to be an achiever. I'm grateful to be brave. I'm grateful that my health is getting better every day. I know that one from 14 years of healing my brain. My life path is ever improving. I have the most amazing dog. I really do, actually, I'll be honest. So, and adding volume and emotion to all of this. Then from this activity, the feeling of gratitude over time comes to life. It's an example of how the mental strengthening then influences the emotional strengthening. So with these affirmations, we're not just skimming down a punch list. Scripting full sentences is what it's all about, okay? And so these affirmations I'm verbalizing out loud with a solid tone of conviction. It's a certainty. I want to comment here that, like, for example, an affirmation that I love. I reflect diligently and humbly that I am an unrepeatable miracle, blessed to fulfill a grand purpose, equipped, talented, gifted, energized, motivated, and well able I am. So what I want to comment on here is this is not in an arrogant sense. It's this intent to have like this silent confidence, right? I mean, if anything, this makes you more humble, since actually arrogance is a reflection of insecurity and underdeveloped emotional maturity, right? Now, this is also the opposite of being your own worst critic. That's the real baloney. And that's what needs to be obliterated. And I used to be great at being my own worst critic. So tried and true, that is definitely not the way to roll. Take my word for it. So with these affirmations, like I mentioned, it's okay if you're not actually feeling it. You're not fooling yourself. It's training yourself with the thought that you wish these thoughts to become like second nature, you're kind of taking full advantage of the law of faking it till you make it, right? So using that to your advantage in a very legitimate way. So you're invited to try some of these and use them to get started. You can use mine, to get started, but write your own. Start simple, and you'll find that you get inspiration every day, right? So this is a practice. It's a commitment to raising your standards, the quality of your self-image, your life perspective and expression, right? Try doing this for the next 30 days, every day. If you skip a day, it's not going to mess it up, okay? 10 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before you go to bed, okay? And it can be like watching grass grow at times, but after 30 days, you will notice a difference, and so will others. Other people will notice it. I know we're about 3 minutes over, and we're getting really close here to being done. We got started 7 minutes late. 5 more minutes. I do want to think, I want you to be surprised. I think you will, okay? Now, while there is no silver bullet to relentless peace and joy that's going to happen overnight, it's a powerful and important part of bringing it into our life experience to be, again, that more steadfast state of mind, right? So it's like vitamin C. It's not the only thing to your immune health, but it offers that incomparable support. I do want to recommend reading or listening to audiobooks in your spare time, driving, doing the dishes, walking the dog, something positive before you go to bed. After running the positive material like this through your mind routinely before you go to sleep, remember that high performance supercomputer, your brain, is sorting files coupled with that optimized BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor growth hormone from the exercise you did earlier that grow into those new neural pathways. That's the goal. Some favorites, I'll be honest. I love Joel Osteen. Doesn't necessarily talk about the science of neuroplasticity, but he puts it to use perfectly. It is more Christian material, but most people would appreciate it. The majority of what he shares, regardless of religion. I think Bob Proctor is also amazing. He's totally hilarious. It's more prosperity consciousness, but it's a prosperity consciousness in terms of self-value, right? So that's kind of the big goal today, or one of the goals. So I just love here how this is a topic today that is just slightly bridging science and spirit, I'll say, that normally looked at as two very different worlds. You can absolutely use all of what we're talking about today to strengthen your faith. Okay, like an example, I'll just share one with you. Today, I am feeling my completeness and gratitude for my brilliant life journey that thrives more and more along the way, guided and guided by the great spirit of the universe to which I surrender. So you can see how you use that on a routine basis, and you're actually rewriting that script. It will make your faith stronger in yourself, but also in other things if you want. Okay. And why not look at what we call the laws of attraction in a spiritual sense, that let's bridge it with just what we're doing here. Let's look at this as a science in which there are definable steps, like just when you're declaring routinely the good in yourself. This leads to making better day-to-day decisions, right? Being a stronger person. Then you're generating a better output to the world, then to get a greater reward. Law of attraction right there. So this is win-win for you and everyone in your path, whether you know them or not, right? So putting this science we've talked about tonight to use can absolutely do so much, even if it's just strengthening your faith in a spirit, God, or just building that faith in yourself. So, plain and simple here, we have been made equipped with these abilities we've covered, perhaps and maybe partly just for all of these purposes, right? The big picture is we are taking the methods we have talked about today for an improved self-concept to become that steadfast trait of your consciousness, from just that temporary state to a more permanent trait of your identity. Problems don't necessarily go away. And so, but they do become smaller as mentally and emotionally we become stronger, more mature, right? So very naturally, this enables us to enjoy life more, even with the challenges we may be forever dealing with, and to make us better equipped for the future. Okay, just a few minutes left. I'm going to share with you how we're going to do the Vitamix reward and all the free Infinity Greens. Hang with me just a few more minutes. Wrapping it up here. Okay, drawing a little bit of a blank. I've been on a roll here. That certainly on this path, over time, everyday stressors and life circumstance of all kinds become less of a determining factor for our peace and joy, since we become more resilient. I'd like to touch on fear. Fear is like the cortisol stress hormone factory, which is certainly not in our best interest. Can we use these abilities of constructing physically and mentally a stronger brain, thus immune system, with deliberate thinking, meditating on the good, while having at the same time an eye to eye with what could be making us fearful? To see the influence it is shown to have on the world, COVID, then to have less of an influence on ourselves, essentially making it weaker relative to yourself becoming mentally, emotionally, physically stronger, right? So we're using these talents here, building a greater advantage when we're actually when we're taking this into a practice to look at the pandemic from just a more enlightened perspective, essentially declaring with your daily practice, I am fearless. I declare this pandemic can have no power over me, right? And what do you say we just try this together as an experiment of running that one through our minds relentlessly, morning and evening for 30 days, speaking the outcome, that the long-term vision and goal that we will win. And that when we do, we're going to use this challenge we've been through to our long-term advantage. And in the meantime, building an emotional resilience to not being easily tossed around with just the everyday feelings of being angry, depressed, or fearful when things aren't going the way we would like. Again, on such a level as this pandemic. It's a lot of work, but again, we're equipped. We can do it. I have to say, am I great at this? No. I want to be, though. And I know it works. I've seen the value. I've experienced it. And I love sharing it with you. So, again, no promises. You can have those bad hair days or be mad at someone, but you're going to bounce back quicker, popping out of those old ruts quicker into those new channels you're building faster. So in every way it's possible, there's always going to be the opportunity to grow, right? Always more opportunity to cut back on the things in life that don't offer us improvement, unhealthy food, stressors, things that interfere with just becoming our strongest and happiest, to be replaced with the right foods, the right enriching lifestyle, with a solid practice of self-improvement that just by nature will bring us greater joy and well-being and stronger in every way. So what I feel that what we've talked about today to be the most powerful thing that we can do for ourselves. You can have a superior diet, but if you're always stressed out, again, like you're absolutely running that material through your body that's just making everything weaker. Okay, so we did it. Pass the word. Again, long-term goal to have together to become a healthier species, right? And that if everybody was doing these things with diet and exercise and sleep and positive thought, we would be in a totally different situation. So we're a goal-oriented people. It's an innate strength that has collected cobwebs that needs to be put into use with this mutual purpose together. That we have our short-term solutions now, that together we are working to mitigate COVID, but we need to work toward that long-term goal at the same time of becoming healthier, right? We've never really had to think in these terms, but the human spirit has my faith that we're going to figure this out. So I feel the desire to thrive is, in terms of our health, is natural, and we're going to win. So, and now you know some very powerful tools to reveal it. So we are going to do another class. I had a bunch of stuff I didn't get to, I'll be honest. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to participate today. If you find these videos helpful, then share this with your friends, since naturally this helps to expand the influence of the information I have to share, right? Speaking of which, now you know that we're doing the Vitamix contest raffle, that whoever shares this video that's going to be up now, after this class is done, there's going to be a video. This is going to be recorded. And the idea is to share it, tag your friends, and that this is assuming, of course, you feel that there's value in what I have to share. If this information speaks to you, then put it out there to your friends, and just make some comments to your friends. Hey, check this out. This is really great stuff. Just give it 5 to 10 minutes. Hit up friends and family that you know will benefit from this. And the winner is going to be who does the most tags. And then we're going to have 5 more runners up who get a free bottle of greens and a free bottle of Infinity C, which is $110 value. So, and that's going to be free. All of these winners are going to be listed on the event page. Again, the grand prize being a $500 Vitamix. And I actually, everybody's going to get a reward. Okay. So, but again, I ask for you to share this, to get it out to the world. And if also, when I mentioned the Taos retreat, remember it's the full immersion. That is in 4 days here in Taos. I'm here in Taos right now, and it's not too late to jump on board. Okay, there are actually 3 spaces left, in theory, 3. So, and then of course you can always learn more about me and the Infinity Superfoods and all the information I'm offering at infinitygreens.com. Okay. Well, this has been a joy, and thank you so much for your time and being here with me, and we're going to do this again. So that's it. All right. Best wishes. Take care.